WBNE.
Hello, and welcome to episode 59, all about the field of Cormallen. Cormallen? Chapter 4, Book 6 of The Return of the King, being the 59th part of That's What I'm Talking About. Hello, my name is Mary Clay. If that's too complicated for you, just call me MC. And today I'm joined by my detention buddies from the restricted section. Did you like that, guys? Christina, and then for the first time joining us is Brooke.
Yay.
Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Yay! Mary Clay, I think it's pronounced Cormac McLagan. The Fields of Cormac McLagan.
You are not, I hate to tell you this, you're not the first person to make that joke to me.
Oh no, I thought I was being so clever. Oh,
it's okay,
man.
I'll cut out the part where I said you're not the, no, because
No, it's genuine.
it was my friend Bethany who made that joke to me, and I know that she'll
She
listen
deserves
and
it.
she'll be mad because she'll be like, I made that joke to you 2 days ago.
Quite frankly, the
Okay.
entirety of this title sounds like this battle might happen in an Irish pub.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's the other thing is like, oh, field of Cormallen.
Cormallen sounds right.
There's no
Great.
dot, so I would assume Cormallen instead of Cormallen.
Okay, perfect, awesome, great.
But I am talking out of my,
since when-
talking just out of left field, so we'll see.
You could say it's okay.
I'm trying real hard.
You can
I'm
throw,
talking
you
out
can
of my
throw one
shire.
in there every now and then. Okay, so I guess, so backing up a little bit, so I've already started getting a lot of great results from the listener survey. Listener, if you're listening right now and you haven't taken the listener survey, go do that now. Also, take a shot for every time I just said listen.
I'm drunk already.
And one of the comments, I can't see like who submitted like what answers. One of the comments said get more people from the restricted section on, and I had already like been planning to have Christina come on, so I was like, oh, let me get one more person to come on with Christina, this will be fun. And Brooke was available and hadn't come on yet, so welcome, Brooke, to That's What I'm Talking About.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into Lord of the Rings and like what your background is with it.
So I started my love of Lord of the Rings by watching the movies. It was my very first PG-13 movie, Fellowship of the Ring.
Wow.
I was at a sleepover and I had to call home and request special permission from my mother because I had never been able to watch a PG-13 movie, and I wasn't 13 yet. I was like 11 or 12. So it was a real transformative experience for me on that.
I love that.
I wrote this down. So after that day, in my 5th grade journal, I wrote a journal entry about the fact that I had watched Lord of the Rings. And it's real bad.
Oh my gosh, you're literally pulling it out right now?
Yeah, I'm going to read it for you. I'm going to read you.
Oh my God.
I'm going to read you the most relevant section because it's me talking about the characters. So I said, the coolest thing about the Fellowship is they all have their own specialties. Aragorn, sword. Legolas, bow and arrow. Gimli, axe. Boromir, also sword. Merry, sword. Frodo, sword. Pippin, sword. Sam, sword. I guess a lot of them use swords.
Okay, I have to ask. Did you get Aragorn's name wrong originally, or did you just pronounce it wrong now?
Oh, did I pronounce it wrong?
Yes,
You said Aragorn.
You said Aragorn, but also everybody does occasionally. So.
Yeah, no, Aragorn. It's written atrociously.
Sword.
I was really I was taking some wild swings at how those were all spelled.
Oh my god.
So anyhow, I thought that I had it all figured out, and the Fellowship was actually a superhero trio, and turns out that that is not the case.
That is so beautiful and wholesome.
Boromir, also sword. Frodo, sword. Sam, which, like, I would argue the hobbits are most definitely not sword people.
If anything, Sam's only weapon is a frying pan and unending optimism.
Aw.
There's no difference between him and Rapunzel.
That's pretty spot
from
on.
Tangled Rapunzel.
That's pretty spot on.
They are the same person.
I'm into that.
Yeah. They
Wow.
both sing a lot.
A little too much.
Yeah.
Mandy Moore.
So, you know what I hate about Tangled is that as a person with brown hair, they symbolize her hair when they're like, but when you cut my hair, it loses all of its magic and it becomes dead and lifeless and it turns brown.
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
Claire from
seriously?
Claire from Forgot to Unpack Pod was talking about that on Twitter about how Disney hates brunettes.
Yeah, it's very true.
I think most people hate brunettes in their soul because truthfully, we are evil.
I was going to say, I also hate myself a little bit.
There's so many of you.
That's why I've dyed my hair every color of not brunette under the dang sun.
So, y'all, we did it. We destroyed the ring. I say we. Gollum did it. Sam and Frodo did not destroy the ring.
Yep. The circle of life.
They got it so close and tripped at the 50-yard line.
But to be honest, this chapter had me like weeping. It's so like it goes like from like such a low to such a high so quickly that I was like reading it aloud to my husband and just like weeping, and he was like laughing at me. I was like, it's beautiful because they think that all is lost and it's okay because they did what they're supposed to. And now he wakes up and he's so comfy in bed. It's just so beautiful.
Oh, I have an important question. Sorry,
Yes.
I should have asked this before we started. Is the Silmarillion considered spoilers for you?
I don't think so.
I'm
Not
wondering.
really. I consider it if you're gonna share some like cool like folklore that kind of like adds to this point in the story.
Haley shared the Gandalf is a demigod thing.
Oh yeah.
How does that
Did
affect
she?
this?
I don't remember.
Oh well,
Man,
she did.
I'm sure so many of my guests have told me so many like cool background information things that I have zero memory of, and I apologize for that.
I'm only asking because this chapter, for the most part, starts out with the Eagles, and like the Eagles, until you read the Silmarillion, are the least explained concept in this book.
Okay, thank you. Yes, that was like one of my questions that we'll get to when the Eagles show up in the chapter. But yeah, I was like, okay, Eagles, all right. Okay, so first the story. So the previous chapter. Previously on Lord of the Rings, Frodo and Sam watched Gollum fall to his demise with the ring, and they stood outside the volcano and were like, well, at least we're together in a totally platonic, not gay way at all.
Two bros chilling in the hot tub, 5 feet apart because they're not gay.
At the end of all things. I'm just kidding. It's a little bit gay.
Everything's a little bit gay.
Everything about their entire storyline is a lot of bit gay.
There's a song from the musical Avenue Q, and it's Everyone's a Little bit racist. I want to follow up to that song that says everything's a little bit gay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, yes, so the ring has literally just been destroyed. The world is about to self-destruct, I guess. We jump back in this chapter to the big battle. I was so hype because the field of Cormallen to me said like, oh, we're going to have this battle on the field of Cormallen, and it's going to be huge and epic, and Sauron's going to be trying to like fight his last fight even though the ring has been destroyed, and we're gonna take him down and someone's gonna stab him in the eye. He's gonna need some Visine after that. So I was really hyped.
And instead we get like quick cuts between the four.
Yeah.
Just like people staring.
Literally, like the battle, you flip the page and like the battle's over. And I was like, oh. Okay. Alrighty then. Okay, I guess we did that. So it starts off with Aragorn standing dramatically overlooking the battle like he always does. I love how the language that he uses changes here, because obviously we know that the ring has been destroyed and that like hope is about to be restored to the world. They don't know it right now. But I like the subtle use of the way that he uses like certain words that really like change the tone. It says, Aragorn stood beneath his banner, silent and stern, as one lost in thought of things long past or far away. But his eyes gleamed like stars that shine the brighter as the night deepens. Upon the hilltop stood Gandalf, and he was white and cold, and no shadow fell on him. And just the stars shining bright, Gandalf being white, I guess, because Tolkien loves that, you know, white is good
Tolkien
symbolism.
loves white people.
Loves them white people. Man, what a diverse book. What a great diverse book. So I just appreciate those like very subtle uses of of words that like totally changed the tone of this. And now you're heading into this, because when we were last with this group of people, it was despairing and doom, and like Pippin was dying.
Yeah.
It was not good. And then now it's like Gandalf, no shadow fell on him. Aragorn has some kind of like twinkle in his eye for some reason. Things are looking up for this crowd of people.
Yeah, the language is definitely pretty as hell. I think it was 2 chapters ago now that you were talking about, like, oh, I guess Tolkien's a good writer. How dare you make me feel my own feelings? But like I said, I was reading this chapter aloud, and it almost read kind of like a Shakespearean sonnet. Like the cadence was really lovely for a lot of these like great long paragraphs, and the word choice was just so it was really lovely to read. And like for the first time, it felt truly hopeful instead of like false Sam
Fake
optimism. Yeah. Of like, well, yeah, we're gonna die, but maybe we'll. This ring first. Oh my god, I already failed. I already failed the cursing test.
That's fine.
I mean, my favorite like line of that beginning is the onslaught of Mordor broke like a wave on the beleaguered hills. It's just such a beautiful moment of this. I mean, really letting it sink in for a second before we Eagle-S Machina our way out of this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That, like, even the hills are tired, you know? Like, because so much of Lord of the Rings, Tolkien is showing that there's connection between these people and the land. Like, they are defending their kingdom. They are part of the world in which they live. And the fact that the hills that surround them would be almost, you know, personified in the sense that they have the feeling of the weariness of battle along with the characters, I just really enjoyed.
The hills have eyes. Is that what you mean by personified?
No.
Okay. Well, I think I'm misunderstanding.
This is now the Hills Have Eyes podcast. I hope you guys watched the movie. It's also a book, right? Yeah, read the book. I hope we did all those things.
Neither Brooke nor I enjoy scary
horror
movies.
Books are a genre that I extra don't understand, because like a horror movie, at least it's like 2 hours and it's over. Committing to a whole book of horror is a feeling that I don't agree with. Like, why?
Yeah, I struggle a lot with that because honestly Stephen King is one of my favorite authors, but like 80% of his books I have no interest in reading at all. But like, God, that 20%, I've read them all.
I don't know. Some of the like best books that I've read have been like horror suspense kind of a book.
I love a thriller suspense
because
type
I
situation.
think it's the hardest genre to write. Like, how do you write horror when horror movies rely on so much like atmosphere? Like, it's all about the way that you edit a horror movie that makes it scary. The music, like if you were to take the music out of any horror movie, it would be way less scary. They rely on like cheap jump scares and stuff like that. So like when a horror book is written well, it's really written well.
Have you seen the movie Mother
with Jennifer Lawrence in it?
Is that the one with Jennifer Lawrence?
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence.
I have not.
It's not a horror. It's a
visceral metaphor.
Yeah, but it has no soundtrack, and so like just like it like it's like, to me it's like worse than music because you can hear like she's like doing dishes and it's like squish, 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 squish. It's like sensory overload.
That's still like the use of sound though to heighten the senses. Like
definitely.
You can't do that with a book, which is so amazing when like you turn the page and you're like, oh my god, what the hell? Oh my god, no. Take it back. Burn this book. But then you have to keep reading because you're like, what? Maybe it's all a dream. I don't know. Like, get me out of here. Yes, so as Aragorn is standing on the... Hey, I have the same book, Christina.
Squirrel!
The whatever anniversary
edition. For me, I like a minimal book design, you know? So I like that it's... just very, I don't know.
Yeah,
very,
they're
like,
pretty
bold
sexy. I have
in your face.
I have many editions of these books, as I have bragged drunkenly to you about before. But I've been reading the illustrated editions of Harry Potter, and I'm so sick of carrying those gigantic things around that I was like, I want like a regular.
Is that what you do? You have the giant? You have the one that has all of the.
I don't.
books in one?
No, this is just The Return of the King. So this is the illustrated edition by Alan Lee.
I have that same edition of the Silmarillion that I've shown you.
I would say the best thing about it is that I would consider it to be lightly illustrated. Like, it's not a bunch of illustrations, but it's like impactful ones where it matters.
Nice. Shoot, what was I talking? We were talking about books.
We're talking about the chapter.
We're talking about this chapter.
I mean, the Eagles come. I think the next thing that happens
the Eagles come. And right now, all that's popping into my brain is there is a great 10 to 15 minute short film that my friends and I in high school were obsessed with. It's called Eagles Are Turning People into Horses. It's by the comedians on YouTube, Britannic. They do a lot of like short comedic, very like smart comedic YouTube videos, and this was a film project that one of them did as like a graduating project for like film school, and he was supposed to take it seriously and he didn't, and he like nearly got kicked out of his school for making this because it's so dumb and ridiculous, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's about eagles are turning people into horses, and it's hilarious. So these eagles are not turning people into horses, unfortunately for Gandalf, because he would love that, you know? He would love for there to be more horses in the world.
Although the Nazgul would make some terrifying horses, though. Like, horses are powerful creatures.
Just flying horses.
Yeah, like...
Oh yeah, you get behind a horse and it'll kill you.
100%. Even worse, let's imagine the Eagles come in, they turn all of the Nazgul into horses, and now there's just raining horses down on the battlefield.
Oh, that's terrifying. Yeah. So they come in and, I don't know, screech at the Nazgul, but at this point, they're obviously, like, the Eagles didn't know that simultaneously as they were showing up that the ring was being destroyed. And other than rescuing Sam and Frodo, they don't really do much for the story, you know? They just show up.
But God, that one task is so important.
So they rescue.
They just show up.
And they freak the Nazgul out, I guess.
Yeah, they're not the ones that like fight the Nazgul. Like the Nazgul just like shrivel away kind of because the ring was destroyed.
Let's talk about the Eagles again after you read The Hobbit and see how your
I don't know. I feel like the Eagles end up falling into the same category for me as Tom Bombadil, where like Tolkien created this whole like super powerful race of beings and then was like, ooh, it was too much. I turned the volume up too much on those and I can't have them further involved because if they are, it'll be too much.
But I'm not willing to just take them out.
No, can't cut them.
Because I love them.
Can't cut them. But literally...
Nobody ever told Tolkien that he had to kill his darlings.
They're a whole race of creatures. Like, they are created before men. They're created before most of everyone except the dwarves, I believe. They might have been created before the elves, actually. And they're this whole race of super-powered eagles that, for the most part, they don't care. They don't mess with people. Like, they're literally above it all, and that they're nesting in the mountains, kind of overlooking everything. I have only seen him use them to swoop down and pluck people. That's all they do.
That's my. So you've
true.
mentioned the Silmarillion and stuff. So maybe they're in The Hobbit too. So maybe the eagles are more explained in those two. But right now, they feel very random.
They're explained in the Silmarillion, and all they do is this, which is fly in and pluck people.
It just seems so like, where have you been this whole time? And then it's very Deus ex machina. You
can't just ask an eagle for a ride, okay? They came willingly and said, "What do you need?" You can't just be like, "Hey, eagles, it's Gandalf again. These hobbits need a ride to Mount Doom. Yeah, we're in the Shire. We'll wait for you on the corner."
But for them to like suddenly decide that they're invested in this makes almost as little sense, you know?
Yeah, it's just...
Well, especially after how long it took for Merry and Pippin to talk, like, the Ents, for example, into getting involved. Yes. It's like, how do we rouse these, like, ancient creatures?
You don't. They just have to decide that they care all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Which is similar, I'd say, to people who usually don't vote in presidential elections. We need to somehow rouse this ancient untapped power this year.
I was gonna say hot take as a religious allegory. This works even better of just constantly hoping and praying, and then it's like, I guess you've moved me to care. I'm flooding everything.
Make sure you're registered to vote, everyone listening. So the eagles swoop in, and I'm sure caw a bunch and make a lot of screeches, and I don't know what eagles do.
Like supersonic, like wear your earplugs.
I'm like, oh, the eagles.
Yeah, they're here.
It immediately says that the eagle don't actually even scare off the Nazgul, because it literally says the Nazgul turned and fled and vanished into Mordor's shadows, hearing a sudden terrible call out from the dark tower.
Yeah, so they were I'm assuming this is the point where Frodo had put on the ring, and that's when Sauron was like, oh, hey, I see you, boy. I see you all across the way. Over there on Mount Doom, I see what you're doing. You think you're being sneaky, but you're not. And I'm assuming this is him, like, calling all of the dark forces over to him, and then in the time of them, like, turning around and going back in that direction, that's when the ring is destroyed, and they, like, wither out.
They do a Voldemort death. I swear to God, I'm going to stop bringing up Harry Potter.
We will get to this in 7 years when we cover Deathly Hallows on restricted section, but I can't emphasize how much I hate Voldemort's death in the movies enough.
Oh, I know.
Because it's so powerful in the books, because she writes that, like, Tom Riddle's body fell hollow to the ground and he was carried off into a different room, and makes a whole
I made a mistake
point that, like, he's human. He's human in this point. He is mortal, he is human, and he is dead. And then in the movie, they're like, what body? You mean...
He's a ghost.
A piñata full of confetti? Okay.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry about that.
So Aragorn, seeing the eagles, which rouses his, I don't know, morale, that's what it's called, says... Wait, is it even Aragorn? No, it might just be Gandalf. It's Gandalf.
It's Gandalf.
This is a long thing, but I'm still going to read it. It says, stand, men of the West, stand and wait. This is the hour of doom. Very inspiring. Love it. And even as he spoke, the earth rocked beneath their feet. Then, rising swiftly up, far above the towers of the Black Gate, high above the mountains, a vast, soaring darkness sprang into the sky, flickering with fire. The earth groaned and quaked. The towers of the Teeth swayed, tottered, and fell down. The mighty rampart crumbled. The Black Gate was hurled in ruin. And far away, now dim, now growing, now mounting to the clouds, there came a drumming rumble, a roar, a long echoing roll of ruinous noise, followed by, the realm of Sauron is ended, said Gandalf. The ring-bearer has fulfilled his quest. And that's how Lord of the Rings ends. Thank you for coming.
Great.
Sean was like, "Oh, I didn't know you were doing the last chapter."
Yeah,
and I was like, "This is not the last chapter. What do you think?"
This is the beginning of the world's longest denouement.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. So this is, remember how at the beginning I was like, all right, we're going to have an epic battle. To me, this was reminiscent of, I'm sorry, y'all. We're all on a Harry Potter podcast together. It's just going to come up.
It's our only frame of reference.
It's very reminiscent of like the second half of the Battle of Hogwarts, after Harry he's gone into the forest to die, and then he comes back and everyone's like, oh my God, he's alive. And there's suddenly this renewed strength and hope, and it's like an epic battle, and Voldemort dies and everyone's happy, and Neville and Luna are together for some reason.
Spoiler!
I thought it was going to be like that, where it's like a hopeful battle. Yet no, it's literally like, we're all about to die. Gandalf literally says, this is the hour of doom.
Yeah.
And then everything crumbles, and then he's like, just kidding, this is the end of Sauron. And I was like, okay, I guess we're done then.
All these knights are like, I got all dressed up. Now I got nowhere to go. All dressed for a fight. What am I supposed to do with these swords? Oh,
you get this
swords.
like really beautiful. If you played this the right way, it's the most comedic take of a battle ever, because literally they're fighting each other and everyone's like, yeah, and then all of a sudden it's just like everything falls down, all the towers, all the gates, and then it's like a hush fell. And it's like this moment where it's like everybody's looking at each other, swords drawn. All the towers come down. Everybody just stops still for 5 seconds. And then the bad guys all collectively go, run away! And they just go scattering back.
Yeah.
It definitely is a full retreat, to say the least.
Yeah. So whatever powers of evil and Sauron and whatever haven't withered away to dust a la Infinity War, flee and run, or I think later on it mentions that like, it mentions that they like try and run away or hide or something like that. But point being is that, oh snap, I guess it's over. We did it, y'all. And I was low-key disappointed because I was like, Sauron wasn't ever there. Do we ever see Sauron?
No.
What?
No, you don't see
Are
Sauron.
you kidding
No.
me?
He's like bigger than that.
He's also a scaredy pants. Like canonically, he's a scaredy
Yeah.
pants. He sends other people to do his bidding because he doesn't like getting his hands dirty, and he learned that, you know, from his like master who taught him how to evil.
This makes me so mad because I literally have spent like the last year that I've been reading these books thinking that there's going to be some final battle, and
That's why there's
Sauron's-
like an eye of Sauron, and like there's a person who's like the mouth of Sauron. It's because you ain't never gonna see Sauron.
I'm so mad about this.
No, I'm gonna tell you that right
Yeah.
now.
Nah,
Don't.
he done.
I'm so mad about this.
It's like I mean, Tolkien is really into like either you're good or you're evil, and it's like he just like isn't even a person. He's like the embodiment.
He's more of a
evil.
concept.
He's like this dark force. Yeah, he's more of a concept, exactly. Who like manifests in certain ways. I like this crazy eye tower
Also,
thing.
like, hearkening back to this being based on his World War I experiences, except it's not based on his World War I experiences, whatever Tolkien. It's also kind of, I guess, similar to what it's like in a war when you're just, like, the everyday soldier, where, like, you're not on the battleground fighting Hitler, you know? Like,
Yeah.
the main powerful people that you're fighting against aren't going to be there fighting in the fight.
And also, I mean, most of the Nazis never met Hitler. It's like, he's like this great giant. I just finished reading a World War II book. He's like this great concept that like children are aspiring to be. You know, they like, I also just watched Jojo Rabbit. It's like they like dream of him, you know, they're like taught that he's like this big crazy thing, and it's like, nah, he just a dude, and he kills himself. Spoiler alert, Hitler kills himself. World War II spoiler alert.
What?
So,
Damn it, I was just finishing that book. I'm so mad.
it's like this person in quotes, because Sauron's not really a person, like creates this concept that's like bigger. It gets bigger than they can possibly like hold
And as like a slight
themselves.
harken back, one of the things that the forces of evil do in this is they mentioned that they were scattering to hide, but also some of them just start like killing themselves because
Oh, yeah, that's the other
they're
thing.
like throwing them, they like literally slew themselves, casting themselves into pits.
What's that word? I always forget the Japanese word.
Seppuku?
Yeah, seppuku.
I think it speaks more to the fact that the forces of evil are a hive mind, you know? Without the brain, what do they do?
Oh, we've heard some orc conversations. They need a brain. Somebody help them.
100%.
Oh, yeah, they dumb.
Man, I think I've told you before, Mary Clay, that these Lord of the Rings video games that I love so much, they're all orc. It's the Shadow of War and the Shadow of Mordor ones, for listeners. And like, it's all about just fighting orcs. And like, it's like an open world game, so you can like creep up to these, like any orc in this world, and they're all having these like different moronic conversations about about nonsense. Did you hear me replace the word bullshit with bullshit?
Great, now I have to edit that out.
That is actually one of the only video games I've ever played, because when I was in a failing relationship, he loved playing video games and I never played them. So we bought that as a commonality point because we both loved Lord of the Rings, and it ended up being
Oh, but it's a one player.
me watching him play it.
Yeah, it's a one player.
It did not
game.
save the relationship.
You need
Honestly,
like Mario
hold
Kart.
on.
You need Mario Kart
All right.
book.
That starts fights. That Mario Kart starts fights. For all of my husband and I play a lot of video games together. This is for all the listeners out there. a video game to build a better relationship is something like Mario Odyssey or Mario Galaxy, where you can play as a team. And it's not that hard. You're not going to fight about it. And in Mario Odyssey, you get to be a little hat. You get to be Mario's little hat.
I recommend not owning a TV or game console at all, as me and my fiance do. You end up spending a lot of time talking to each other, playing board games, and reading.
Well, I mean, you've met Sean. He's not good at that. Any of that.
You're talking to the person who I literally just bought a whole new, brand spanking new memory card for my Switch that's like 3 times the size that my old memory card was, just so I could download The Witcher 3. So
yeah, that's such a good game. Sean's been playing that on the PC.
It was on sale, like on the Nintendo eShop, like I want to say it has to have been like a couple months ago now at this point. So I bought it, but I didn't have nearly enough space to download it because it needs like literally before you buy it, it's like, warning, you need a heck ton of space if you want to download this game. And I was like, I'll figure that out later. I'm sure I have enough. I did not have enough.
And today's the day.
And yeah, I just started playing it today, and I'm literally I'm like getting gobsmacked by ghouls and just being like, wait, which button is the spell thing? Oh no, that's jump. No, no, okay.
Hell yeah.
Anyway,
Brooke, don't hate. I know you like
I
Geralt.
like Henry Cavill in all his many forms.
Oh, I just like the one form. I like me a blonde man. Oh my god, he has Legolas hair, and you know I love Legolas too.
Legolas is not my type.
I think like the light blonde half pony really feeds into all my like bisexual tendencies. I'm just like, ooh, you can have both, you know? All right, it's not the restricted section. We're veering into dangerous territory.
Yeah, this is the Henry Cavill Stan podcast. Welcome. I love him.
Oh my god,
delightful.
I'm here for
I
that.
would
for
totally
sure.
watch him in a Lord of the Rings remake as Faramir. That would be my cast for him. I feel like he's got the right heart for it.
Oh, Faramir deserves to look like that.
IDK, I want him to be Aragorn because I know Aragorn's in a lot more of the story than Faramir, and I want to be able to look at him a lot more.
Aragorn already has everything.
Viggo Mortensen was
but I
the
guess that like
perfect-
quiet.
What if
Aragorn.
Yeah, he's good. I think like the way Viggo Mortensen like talks is so good for Aragorn too.
I want a version of Lord of the Rings where Henry Cavill plays Frodo.
But like nobody mentions that he's twice as tall as the rest of the Hobbits.
And then Sam is a horse. Wait, it's The Witcher. We're back to The Witcher.
And I'm here for
Oh
it.
my god, okay. Alright, so
Wait, Sam is Bill the Pony.
instead of Roach, it's Bill the Pony, yeah. Oh my god. Okay,
oh my God,
so speaking
where
of Sam
are
and
we?
Frodo, we jump to them. They are in, escaping the volcanic eruption that is Mount Doom.
Wait, I immediately started crying at the very first line of this section. I was like weeping, and Sean like ripped off my sunglasses to bear witness to my tears.
Oh my gosh, you're...
Oh, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read the line
Okay.
that makes me weep. I am glad that you are here with me, said Frodo, here at the end of all things, Sam. Oh, actual weeping.
I mean, to imagine them being, especially with Sam being still so optimistic, like thinking of home in this moment, thinking of like happy thoughts.
He's like,
while they're still surrounded by
we'll
lava.
get home.
Like the heat alone.
Meanwhile, the lava's... They've escaped to this, one little hill, and the lava is just, slowly creeping up around them. Sam is like, don't worry, Frodo. Soon we'll be home, and they'll be telling the story of Nine-Fingered Frodo and the Ring of Doom. And, yeah, I wonder what that will be like. Won't that be fun?
I literally lose heart on a 10-minute walk to the grocery store in the middle of summer when I decide that I can totally do it. And I cannot imagine being as hot and sad and surrounded by lava.
In a pit of fire.
Right. And he's like, well, soon it'll all be done. We'll snap our fingers. This will be gone.
The way that Sam talks to Frodo in this bit specifically reminds me of trying to get drunk girlfriends home from the bar. Just like, you know me, like, I'm just lame. Like, I'm really trying to get home. Like, I know I would leave you here. You're fine here, Emily. It's always Emily. Just like, come on. Like, let's just get to the end of this alleyway. Let's see what's over there.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, it's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. We're like, every step of the way, your friend is like, I have to pee. I'm cold. And it's like, I know, but like, we're almost there. It's just one more block, but really it's like 4 more blocks. And you just...
you tell them it's 1 more block for like an hour.
Exactly. And you're like, it's just 1 more block. Like, you're doing great. Okay, but just imagine, don't think about being cold right now. In like 5 minutes, we're going to be back at your apartment. It's going to be so warm. You can take off the dumb clothes that you put on because of the patriarchy, and you can put on your sweatpants and your sweatshirt. And hey, you had a bag of pizza rolls in the freezer. We can make some pizza rolls. Won't that?
Tostino's
and
pizza
they're like,
rolls.
pizza rolls. And then you pick up speed. That's exactly what this is like, yes.
Yeah.
Just like telling them a story to engage them so they don't like remember
the pain.
what they're doing. Yeah. Oh my God. Just like all the little lines, just like even while Sam spoke so to keep fear away until the very last. It's like he knows he's going to die and he just wants to like
Comfort Frodo.
Keep the peace as long as he can.
My sads hit when it said, like, he saw them fall, worn out or choked with fumes and heat or stricken down by despair at last, hiding their eyes from death. And just this image of these guys who have been through so much and ultimately were able to, like, kind of, like, alley-oop succeed, right? And, like, at
definitely
this
was
moment,
an alley-oop. That's exactly what
at the last moment, they're literally just, like, hiding. They're literally children. They're covering their eyes in the face of death.
So, not to get super morbid, but
let's
I have been to Pompeii, as well as, like, this time last year, the Science Museum had this exhibit about Pompeii. And whenever you learn about Pompeii or do research or visit there or whatever, they will show you at some point, like, molds that they have found of people who are, like, buried underneath the ash from Vesuvius erupting. It's like a really interesting process of, like, how they go about, like, making these molds. But like, that's kind of what I was imagining here is the like, quote unquote bodies that they uncovered from Pompeii. You're able to see, like, oh, they're hunched over in a fetal position and they're covering their mouths because they're trying not to inhale the gas and the ashes and everything.
Oh my
and
God.
that was, like, just super reminiscent right here of, like, Frodo and Sam cowering in fear, kind of, like, holding each other. And I think there's even, like, a famous mold that they found from Pompeii of 2 people who were, like, holding each other in their last moments, which, like... Christina's crying.
Right, but in the pit of this despair, if you're looking for a god metaphor, here comes an eagle at their lowest moment to pick them up.
So all that being said about death and destruction and people dying, so sad. Here comes the eagles. Gway here, by the way, is the name of the main one. Also, apparently they can talk. I don't know if I knew that already, but...
All eagles can talk.
So they swoop in, get Sam and Frodo. At some point, Sam passes out, and that's it. And then he wakes up. And he's like, what?
Why not put a chapter break here? Sorry to interrupt. But, like, why the not?
It would be such a short... Okay, so here's the thing that I'm going to talk about more probably when we get to the end of this chapter, is that this part of the story doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings anymore to me. It feels like an out-of-body experience because of the way that he's structured.
An out-of-book experience. Interesting.
Of, like, I'll wait until the end after we've, like, gone through the whole chapter.
As a quick note, has anyone mentioned to you yet that Lord of the Rings size eagles were once a real species that existed in New Zealand?
What now?
So... There was a species of eagles called the Haast eagles, Haast, and they had the size of my bedroom, which, sorry, listeners at home, wingspan, And they were infamous for like snatching babies out of people's arms because they hunted these giant creatures called moa, which are like a two-legged walking bird thing. It's wild. But anyhow, Host eagles were an actual Lord of the Rings size eagle that lived in New Zealand like concurrently with human beings and ultimately died out because most of their prey was hunted into extinction. But they're a real thing.
I'm looking at like artist renderings on Google.
33 pounds. I want to see like how large are its wings. Also, like what's interesting about that, Brooke, is that Tolkien in no way would have known that his series would be filmed in New Zealand.
No.
You know?
Oh,
like that's
funny.
weird.
Yeah. That's just the kind of place where you just you're gonna find big eagles.
That's
there,
some
you know
Illuminati, you know? Okay, so Sam wakes up and Gandalf walks in and Sam is like, oh, well, I guess I'm dead. Because I literally, I say this like every time that Gandalf is brought up during the like Sam and Frodo portion of the story. And I can't seem to drill it in my mind. But every time it happens, I have this terrible realization that, oh my god, they don't know that Gandalf is back. Like, they think all of their friends are dead at this point.
Honestly,
all my friends are dead.
Even a beat before that, he literally wakes up and gets like a biggie, like, it was all a dream moment. And he's like literally looking around and
Can
then
you imagine?
As like a dun dun dun, he's like, it was real. The finger is missing. Like, that's his moment. You get this weird, like, robber bridegroom moment where it's, like, the only proof that it wasn't a dream was the existence of the missing finger.
Or I guess the lack thereof.
And then it's, like, Gandalf, and Gandalf's just like, hey, dude, how you feeling?
Yeah, Gandalf is, like, too...
Yeah, so casual.
Yeah, exactly. He's very Dumbledore at the end of Sorcerer's Stone right now. Of visiting Harry in the hospital, like, oh, Harry... I think I'm going to have these birdie bots, every flavored beans. Oh, by the way, I'm not going to tell you for 5 more years why Voldemort tried to kill you.
I just really like the way that Gandalf handles the news of the king for this. Like, this is exactly how I would play it. If I was Gandalf in this situation, I'd be like, dude, the king wants to see you. We gotta go. Who's the king? What's going on? Dude, come on, the king. He wants to see you. Like, it's just the king. Like, we gotta go. And then it's like, hey, it's Aragorn.
Oh my god. Yeah, so he mentioned, they're like, how long have you been asleep? They've been asleep for 14, he says the 14th of the new year. And I was like, what? I was so confused. I was like, do they have their new year in, like, the middle of the year?
He then explains...
And apparently they do now.
New year.
They do now. But in Gondor, the new year will always now begin on the 25th of March when Sauron fell, and when you were brought out of the fire to the king. He has tended to you now, and he awaits you. Sam is like, what king? And I'm like, Sam. Literally, who else? And Frodo wakes up, and Frodo's like, oh, I woke up this afternoon, ha ha ha. And Sam is like, okay, fine. And they get dressed and go outside, and, like, everyone is awaiting. Oh, also, side note, I'm low-key a little upset that, like, they didn't wake up in Lothlorien. I'm hoping we get back to Lothlorien at some... I'm assuming we have to, because we have to... Shoot, I don't think Arwen is at Lothlorien. I think when we saw her, she was in Rivendell.
She's in Rivendell.
I don't... Whatever.
You're gonna figure it out. Drop that concern.
Okay,
You're gonna figure it out.
Perfect. I can't wait for, like, the next chapter. It's like, and so they went to Lothlorien.
And... So, like, in terms of, like, what they wear, because I think this is an important note, because they're asking, like, well, what should we wear? And Gandalf says the clothes that you wore on your way to Mordor, even the orc rags that you bore in the Black Land, Frodo, shall be preserved. No silks and linens, nor any armor or heraldry could be more honorable. As much as this is not about his World War I experience, the idea of the soldier returning home from battle in uniform, you know, this idea that, like, what they wear during these heroic deeds is of import, and that nothing is more important than the burden that they've borne, and it's okay to show that. It's okay to be open about the fact that, like, hey, we struggled on your behalf, like, we did this, and this is a piece of that. Like, look upon this and be in awe that we did this for you.
Yeah, so they come out, everyone's singing, of course. They're singing
Classic.
in a language, partially in a language that I'm not sure of, and I could have looked up, but I didn't.
Are we singing, or are we just saying praise them with great praise like 90 times?
Oh,
yes, yeah. It
my
says, so here are the
God.
English words in this song. Long live the halflings, praise them with great praise. Praise them with great praise, Frodo and Samwise. Praise them, praise them, praise them, the ring bearers. Praise them with great praise. This is that John Mulaney quote where he's talking about what it's like to grow up in the church.
The bread of bread is bread. Bread is God.
So, after the singing of and the praising and the praising
And the
more
glorifying.
praising,
So much
and-
praise.
Oh wait, what's
Yeah,
this?
don't forget the glorifying.
More praising. They get to a place where 3 thrones are sitting up above the rest, and who should be waiting there but Aragorn? I'm sorry, or should I say Strider? Which Sam walks up and he's like, "Oh my God, Strider, what up?"
Wait, Sam walks up and says, "If this isn't the crown of all," like he's just like, "Well, how about that?" It's very
Oh
cute.
my God. Yeah. He is just shocked, which I just think is hilarious. Granted, they didn't have as much adventuring with Aragorn as the rest did. But even when they are introduced to Aragorn and he recites his poem about eventually a king will return. I wonder who that king could be. Anyway, this poem
Nobody likes a bragger,
this poem is
Aragorn.
deeply personal to me and represents who I am as a person. Whatever. Just the fact that Sam never once thought it never crossed his mind that Aragorn would be a king.
Sam's he's not a percolator, you know? He's not pondering stuff in that way.
That's true.
But
Yeah.
this line in particular is remember at the beginning I was this read aloud kind of like Shakespeare, and this line in particular, "It is a long way, is it not, from Bree, where you did not like the look of me?"
Yeah.
It's almost like Dr. Seuss.
Oh yeah, very much. Yeah.
Adorable.
I also picked up on that it rhymed, and I was like, I kind of hate this, but okay.
I did. Well, yeah, I was reading it aloud and I was like, now I sound like an idiot. But
Well, I love the fact that they get immediate payoff. Sam was in the darkness with Frodo, and Sam's like, "Hey, look, one day they're gonna tell our story." And as soon as they wake up, a minstrel comes in to be like, "Allow me to tell you your story."
I feel like Frodo, you know how Frodo was like, "Dude, I've been awake since 8 a.m. This was my afternoon nap. You've been asleep forever." I feel like Frodo woke up and was like, "Yo, Gandalf, can you just get a minstrel situation going? Because Sam really deserves
even
that
better,
right
they
now."
kind of nailed the name with Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So Aragorn gives this little speech and he's like, or is it Aragorn? Oh, a minstrel of Gondor. Yeah. It says, "I will tell you, I will sing to you of Frodo of the Nine Fingers and the Ring of Doom." Everyone kind of laughed, and I was like, how the hell did they know what Sam was saying to Frodo in their the only people that heard Sam say that were Sam and Frodo, and unless Frodo mentioned it in the couple of
That's what I'm
hours
saying.
before Sam woke up, I was like, how do you know that? No, that's not, let's go, this is kind of creepy. No, I don't like this.
Or it's a deeply uncreative nickname that's just pointing out obvious malformation on this individual.
Yeah. They're like,
It's a critical to the story malformation at this juncture.
actually,
It's true,
yeah,
it's true,
that's
it's true.
Okay, also to note, which I'm sure it represents something, which is why I want to bring it up, is Frodo is seated the chair or the throne or whatever that is underneath a flag that is green and it has a white horse running around freely, and then Sam is seated
Shadowfax.
and then that's what I thought too, but I was like, no, that's got to be
I'm
Gandalf's
pretty sure
flag,
that's
right?
Rohan's flag. Green
Is
with the
it?
white
Okay.
horses, I think.
That
Rohan.
makes sense.
And then the other one, Sam is seated under, and it's a blue flag with a ship in the sea. And I'm
That's the elves. Yeah.
is it okay? I was like, I'm sure I was like, did they make these flags up that are Frodo, you will be represented by the free spirit of a horse?
The elf ship thing is yet to be
Yeah,
explained.
because it's a swan-shaped ship, which is the like signature of elf ships.
Oh, right. Yeah, they rode in them once. Okay, so they just have the different flags.
Yeah,
up.
I guess
the dwarves. They don't get a
Well,
flag.
the dwarves didn't show up for the battle.
Yeah,
You tell that to Gimli.
Just Gimli.
How dare
well,
you?
the dwarves,
It's just
have not
Gimli.
done
Gimli-
anything. It's like the one
Gimli
dwarf,
gets
yeah.
his own
Like,
flag.
good for Gimli reppin',
Oh,
but,
he
you know,
deserves
in
it.
terms of, like, hey, who all pitched in for this? Like, the dwarves are the kids in the back of the class being like, put my name on it.
Yeah, true.
So they have this like little ceremony and they recount the tale of Frodo and Sam and the ring being destroyed. And then after this is all done, they see who is it? Yeah, they see Legolas or is it Legolas and Gimli? They see people being escorted. Whatever. They see people being escorted in by 2 small children. But who is this? It's not 2 small children. It's Merry and Pippin.
Classic.
And they walk up
Classic Hobbit shenanigans.
and they come up to Frodo and Sam, and they're like, oh my god, I'm so glad you're alive. Oh, I missed you. Okay, well, we gotta go, because we're knights now, and we have to do stuff. And I'm sure Frodo and Sam are just standing there like, what?
They're all big and bad
they're
now.
knights?
Actually, instead of focusing on the knight thing, the first thing they do when they're all hanging out is just, like, the most classic Hobbit move, which is like, are you taller than me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Which,
so
yes,
good.
they are,
and
for sure.
I just love so much that they're like, oh, like, you know, they drank Ent draft, and Sam's literally like, I have no clue what that is. And no one makes an attempt to explain.
Yeah. So that's what and Legolas and Gimli join them, and do Gandalf and Aragorn join in? I feel like they do at one point. If they don't, I don't care. In my version of this, they do. They all just kind of like sit around and talk and catch up, and it's very cute and sweet and wholesome, and I love it. And they're all saying like, oh, well, let me think. In the time since we last saw you, Boromir's dead, by the way. I think you knew that already. We met his brother, Faramir. He's real cool, but their dad, nuts. He tried to set Faramir on fire. We got Faramir out. Didn't get Denethor out. He did.
But it's for the best.
He real did. Oh, we woke up the Ents. That was cool.
Sam's like, what's an Ent? And they ignore him again.
We flooded Isengard. Or I guess that was the Ents. We were just kind of there to witness it, but whatever. And then Aragorn and Gimli and Legolas like, we went to the Paths of the Dead. That was dope. This random girl showed up and killed the Witch King. That was kind of cool. And Sam and Frodo, they're all just kind of like, this is insane. I can't believe that we're here doing this right now. This is amazing and great and fantastic.
And then it wraps up with Gimli being like, LOL, pulled Pippin out of a pile of bodies. And like, no one acknowledges it.
Because here's the thing, is in typical Tolkien fashion, he has to fill in every single little bit of like anything that you're like, oh, this is that you could possibly be like, this is the plot hole. He's like, don't worry, I already covered it. He has to explain to you how Pippin was rescued, because when we saw him in the battle at the end of book 5, he was basically being buried alive by a bunch of dead bodies. Like falling over on him. And the last he heard before he was passing out was the eagles are coming. And Tolkien has to explain to you that Gimli saw Pippin's foot sticking out of this pile of bodies.
And just yoinked him.
And he like reached in and pulled him out. And like, because you know that would have driven Tolkien insane had he not written that. Exactly. Like it would have kept him up at night. Meanwhile, everyone else is like sleeping peacefully, not worried about it in the slightest.
Well, and then they all start, talking about going to bed, and everyone's like, oh, but there's so many stories. And Legolas is like, I can kill the vibe, I think. I'm gonna sing a song about me departing on ships.
Oh my god. Gandalf like orders Frodo and Sam to bed, and Gimli, this is when Gimli talks about how he rescued Pippin. Gimli orders Pippin to bed so that they can all rest, and he is like, he says, to bed now you go, and so shall I. "And I," said Legolas, "shall walk in the woods of this fair land, which is rest enough." Which goes back to, I completely forgot about this really creepy character trait of, I guess, Legolas / the elves, is that they just don't sleep. Because in Two Towers, it notes that Legolas slept with his eyes open. And he's like, I'm going to go for a walk in the woods and not sleep. Good night.
What I love about this is that Legolas is the kind of character who is never not bragging. Just like the facts of himself and his life are just always bragging. So it's like, have fun sleeping. I'm going to go run in the woods.
Exactly.
And then it's like, and so singing, Legolas went away down the hill. So it's like, have fun sleeping, suckers. La 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 la, skipping away.
I really hope, and I will delete every episode of this podcast if this is true. I really hope that is not the last time we see Legolas, is him disappearing.
Bye, Legolas!
Ooh, start deleting.
It's him disappearing off into the woods, singing and prancing by himself instead of going to bed like all the normal people. If that is the last we see of him, I will cry myself to sleep.
Only time will tell.
Brooke and Christina are making very cryptic faces at me.
I'm prepared
to cry myself to sleep.
I've got this gorgeous illustration of an elf ship sailing into the night.
Brooke is distracting me.
It's okay, Mary Clay. Come on. We're almost at the end of the chapter, and you have that bag of Tostino's pizza rolls in the freezer.
So they all... I think that's...
Well, they basically say that they chill there for, like, a couple of months. Just, like, singing and feasting and carrying on without the women folk.
And then it's just like, and Sam really was mad that he didn't get to see the Oliphants.
Yeah,
and that's
well,
it.
Yeah, Sam's like, oh, I really hope I get to see an Oliphant soon. And they're like, oh no, we killed all of them.
Extinct. And then we end on this like really lovely note of literally they wait to re-enter the city of Gondor as the sun is rising, the literal new day dawning, the like era of the king, you know?
Yes, so this is the last, it was the eve of May, and the king would enter his gates with the rising of the sun, because Aragorn is a dramatic the end. Okay, so, so this is the end of the chapter. A couple, like, random things. One, now that, like, kind of, like, the battles are all over, the fights are over, it's just time to wrap up stuff from here on out. I cannot believe that the Ints didn't show up, because that, like, these are, like, now we're getting into territory where these are predictions that I made, where how I thought things would go at the end. The Ints did not show up again.
Yeah.
I really thought they would come through for it. Like, I thought they were going to be... I think it would have been better if the Ints had showed up instead of the Eagles. I don't know how they would have somehow rescued...
Hard agree.
Wait. The Ents are so flammable, though.
This is true.
Hard agree, but they are made of wood.
Like, it would have been it would have been a better, like, literary device, I think, for, like, oh, we haven't seen the Ents in such a long time. The last we saw them, they were like, no, we've done our thing against Saruman, and we're out. That's it for us. And then, just when you think it's the, like, oh, everything is hopeless, we're gonna lose, the Ints show up, and you're like, oh my god, they do care. Nope, they don't.
They don't care.
They don't.
They reached the end of their giving it like a full book ago.
I understand why the Ent wives left them.
They are the epitome of the guy where it's like, I already did the dishes. And you're like, yeah, you did most of them. And the rest of the apartment's still gross.
Yeah, it's like,
Yep.
and the other, like on this similar train of thought that I was going down, I was also like, I was so convinced that they were gonna go, like, Saruman was gonna come into the story and, like, oh, we found out he's turned evil or whatever, and they were gonna somehow get them back over on their side, and Saruman was gonna join them in this final battle to help. Nope!
Oh, no.
He's just
don't forget
stuck
that
in his
evil
tower.
is evil. Yeah, evil is evil.
He's just stuck in his tower.
I don't think he deserves redemption. I hate him.
Okay, but we said the same thing about Zuko in season 1, and look where we are now as a society.
No, I never said that about Zuko. Don't come at me like that.
I don't know. I
okay?
think Saruman could have been. I think that could have been a really interesting story of like, this is what happens when like you turn towards darkness and evil and propaganda and whatever. But like, there's still always this option to turn yourself around and head back in the other direction towards goodness. But nope.
Since you brought up Prince Zuko, I think that with Saruman, it's like, we don't care about him enough for that to be like a satisfying use of book space. You know, like Zuko, it's like you almost know Zuko like better than Aang for a while. And so it's like when he turns around, it's so satisfying. I get that. I
think in my mind, I was like, oh, we're obviously going to need Saruman's additional power to help defeat Sauron and everything. But nope.
We don't need no Saruman.
We don't need him. Fine.
Yeah, he's evil
Whatever.
forever now.
All we really need was the power of heart and a can't quit spirit.
And friendship.
You'll never know love or friendship.
So, okay, and then my other thought is like, wow, Tolkien just went straight into like wrapping it up. Like there was zero... Like, when you learn about basic narrative structure in school, you reach the climax, and then there's a bit of falling action, and then it moves into, like, resolution. Tolkien was like, fuck that falling action, we're going right into resolution. I don't care. Like, the climax of... I'm using Harry Potter again as an example. Whatever, fight me. I would say, like, the climax of Deathly Hallows is when Harry walks into the forest and Voldemort does Avada Kedavra, and like that's the climax. And then the falling action is like him being with Dumbledore in purgatory and then coming back to life. And then we have this like second part of the battle that's more hopeful, and then we kill Voldemort, because at that point there's like, you know that he's going to succeed and win, and it's going to be great. So I was really expecting that, like, this would at least be a chapter dedicated to, like, that part of the story where, like, okay, it's not moving straight into, like, happy fun times where everyone hugs each other and drinks beer and eats food together. But no, that's exactly what happens. There is, like, 1 page of quote-unquote falling action. And then Tolkien's like, all right, let's get going. We got a lot of characters to wrap up.
What if the falling action and the resolution are swapped?
Oh, jeez. This makes me concerned.
Just like a speculation. I've never read this book before, so I don't know.
Okay, well then, no further questions or rants.
You got like 100 pages left.
I've been told that the rest of this is just wrap up, okay? I've been led to believe that the rest of these 100 pages are going to be... So the next chapter is the Steward and the King. I'm assuming we get back to Faramir, because he's the Steward. And then, or I guess, yeah, Faramir. And then... the king is obviously Aragorn, and then at some point,
the king in the
Aragorn
south.
And Arwen get married. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if they do
Whoa,
that.
Whoa, spoilers! I don't know that. That doesn't happen. I've never read this before.
At some point, they make their way to Lothlorien so that Arwen and Aragorn can get married, and then we fade to black again.
Wrong.
And then actually, nope, it's just the hobbits saying goodbye to everyone in Lothlorien, and then they make their way back to the Shire. And then in the Shire, they meet... Oh, who is this? It's Bilbo. He's been here this whole time. Sam plants his garden with his... which, by the way, Gandalf gives back to Frodo and Sam. He's like, oh, here are Galadriel's gifts. Here's the vial of pure elven light magic. Oh, and here's your box of dirt, Sam, that you
but that's all he
want to plant your garden with. And then
Hufflepuff's like dirt.
And then it's gonna zoom out, and then the last chapter, what is called Grey Havens, which to me seems like a retirement home name. So
it kind of is.
You're not wrong.
Ooh, I'm imagining that we zoom out on Frodo. He's in his armchair, sitting by the fire, and we zoom out, and he closes a book that Bilbo wrote about his adventures, and then Like, that's how the story ends.
Mary Clay, these are all great predictions.
The real question as to whether or not that's a satisfying read for you is, were you really worried about all of this ring stuff?
No.
Or is it about the friends we made along the way?
Shut up! See, that's the thing. Is like, that's the other thing that annoys me, is that we spent 900 pages leading up to the ring being destroyed. The like struggle of the ring being destroyed happens within, it's like one page of like, you walk in and Frodo is there, and then Frodo and Gollum have a fight, and then Gollum falls back with the ring and dies, and the ring is destroyed. That happens over the course of one page, and then it's another 100 pages of resolution.
Okay, but legitimate question. You know what Tolkien's writing is like. Would you have preferred he go into great detail about that?
About the main conflict of the series? Yes! I would prefer for there to be an entire chapter. So, okay, so y'all haven't heard my thoughts about Mount Doom yet, because that hasn't come out yet. But I thought it was going to be like a video game level, basically, where they show up to Mount Doom and
with like dungeons,
and Sauron
right?
is there, and they have to like somehow trick Sauron or fight him, and then maybe actually
like,
this is what I thought was going to happen. Is I thought Sauron was going to be distracted with Frodo, and Frodo was going to be fighting him or trying to fight, and then we turn and he's like, "Oh, you hobbit, you thought you would do this," and then Frodo's like, "No, I never could have done this by myself." And then we pan over and Sam has snuck
You'll never
around,
know about more friendship.
and he has the ring and he throws it in the lava. And like, that's why I thought everyone was so team Sam, is because I thought Sam destroyed the ring.
I mean,
your Sauron is Ganon from Legend of Zelda.
look.
so the ultimate issue here, though, is that we've worked up a lot of like thoughts and feelings and action, and the ultimate thing that we're waiting for is a single piece of jewelry being dropped.
Which happens on accident 1 million times every day. Just ask Haley about her experience with rings, because I've been there for some serious nightmare situations.
I mean, it also happened by accident this time. Okay, Brooke and Christina, that brings us to the end of this episode.
Wow.
Where can people find you on the internet?
I'm Christina. You can follow me on Instagram at Your Girl of the World. You can follow me on Twitter at Tina Fontina. You should also listen to my podcast, The Restricted Section. You'll find Brooke and Mary Clay there as well. And you'll hear more shenanigans with my really annoying cat Dante, who doesn't know if he wants to be in or out right now. It's a Harry Potter podcast for grown-ups, which is why I curse so much. Sorry.
My name is Brooke Matherly. You can find me on Instagram at Passion for Parks. I post a lot of stuff about national parks and my life. You can find me on Twitter at Grumpy Brooke. And you can also hear me on the upcoming podcast from our network, the Movie Night Crew Network, releasing at the end of August, the Cringe Cast, which is a show about the writing that people do as children and how they look back on it and know that they've grown.
Oh my god!
I literally cannot wait for that.
Listeners, this is breaking news for me. I didn't know that, like, it was very, like, I knew that this podcast was being developed and whatnot, but I didn't know that, like, it's coming soon to a internet near you. This is very exciting.
Yeah, it should be end of August.
God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
excited.
so fun. I can't wait for that. And then also, what is something that you, much like we do on the restricted section, what's something that you guys are enjoying right now that you would recommend to the listeners?
I've recently been reading a book that was forced upon me by Haley, who has great taste in books for the most part, so I trusted her. It's The Lives of Locke Lamora. It's the first book in the Gentleman Bastard series. And it's like, the back cover says it's like Robin Hood meets Ocean's 11, and that's like a great description of it. It's like a medieval fantasy, but it's like this elaborate heist. And I'm only 100 pages in, well, I'm about 200 pages into this like 700 or 800 page long book, and it's already like, there's already been a plot twist that blew my mind. And so I'm like, oh my god, the ride's only beginning. So I do recommend that for people who like maybe the more like Pippin-y nonsense of Lord of the Rings.
I would say that if you enjoy the kind of like quirky songs and side quests of Lord of the Rings, get yourself an unabridged complete collection of the original Grimm fairy tales. There is so much in there that you haven't read. It's so fascinating. I'm literally looking at my copy right now. I love nothing more than reading like 2 or 3 of these before bed. They're fascinating. And they're so entertaining in their weirdness. Like, they're not always good, but they're always a story that you're like, why is this a written piece of literature?
Yeah, they're wild.
Those Brothers Grimm, man. They're
not your grandma's fairy tales.
They're creepy and they're kooky. They're all together spooky. Just kidding. That's the Addams Family.
I was like, I know I've heard that somewhere before.
That's what I'm talking about. As a proud member of WB&E, you can learn more about the network by going to WBNE.org, where you can also find other shows on the network, such as Late to the Party, our Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
In a world not unlike our own.
It is a balmy 80 degrees in Miami, Florida.
I'm chaotic neutral tiefling monk.
I don't recall there being tieflings in Miami.
Now you know that hammer toss isn't an actual hammer, right?
It is in this universe.
Okay.
No, it's a big ol' hammer.
It's a big ol' sledgehammer.
Where magic and monsters run rampant.
Kind of looks like a bug monster.
Oh, Jordan has showed us a diagram of, I think, Red Eye's Black Dragon from the Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh my god.
Well, I speak infernal, so I'm gonna ask it what the heck it is.
A real estate agent.
Lily Davis, who sells real estate by day.
A football coach.
I love you. Don't touch my flowers.
A failed actor.
I am a former Broadway star.
And a teenager.
Sunny days, a student in college, crazy, right?
Must save the world.
And you're waving your clipboard back and forth, and...
Do I feel my clipboard connect with something?
Yes.
Coming March 23rd to WBNE. Late to the Party.
The cover art is by Graphite, aka Vaishon Brandon. You can support him on Instagram at graphite.vmb. You can find the podcast on Twitter and Instagram at TolkienAboutPod, and you can also join the Facebook group. You can find me on Twitter at MCWhatsup and Instagram at MCTurnedDownForWhat. If you want to support the podcast, you can do so at patreon.com/TolkienAboutPod. There are lots of different tiers and perks for all kinds of financial situations. You can become a member of the 11sies tier, which gives you access to bonus content, like my crazy, insane notes on each of the chapters. I share the notes that I take in my journal. And you'll also get access to the audio and the content that I have to cut from episodes that go over, like this one. Oh, by the way, did I mention, hey, it's Future Mary Clay, what up? Christina, Brooke, and I talked a lot about stuff that, you guessed it, went off topic a bit. There was an entire 7-minute tangent that began with horror movies, and then we moved into mirrors, and then that got us into Harry Potter, and then we started talking about the houses and how the houses might react to the ring. It was a lot of great stuff that unfortunately I had to cut because otherwise this episode would have been way too long. So you can get access to stuff like that, or you can become a sponsor of the podcast like Mayor. Mayor, thank you so much for being a sponsor of this week's episode. I appreciate your support so much. Future Mary Clay is going to have to jump in here and provide answers for the discussion question a couple weeks ago, so she'll do that now. Yes, what up? It's me again. So a couple weeks ago, the discussion question was not really a question. It was, in fact, a request for your hopeful quotes. Amy on Facebook, a former guest Amy, hi Amy, said, when we hit our lowest point, we are open to the greatest change. And that is from our homeboy Aang in Legend of Korra, which is on Netflix, by the way. You should watch it, and I will bring this up every episode from now until the end of time. In Discord, Eni shared a Les Mis quote, she knows me. Even the darkest night will end and the sun will rise. And Claire in Discord also said, courage cannot erase our fears. Courage is when we face our fears, which is from Newsies. Okay, back to Past Mary Clay. And then this week's discussion question is, what is one of your favorite reunions in fiction? The moment in a book or a story or a movie or whatever where everyone is reunited and it feels so good. In my mind right now, I'm imagining at the end of Sorcerer's Stone, the movie, when Harry comes out of the hospital wing and Ron and Hermione are standing there waiting for him and they're all smiling at each other. Oh my gosh. Okay. All that being said, Christina and Brooke, thank you for joining me for this chapter discussion. Do you guys have any parting words for the audience?
I was going to read that quote that I liked so much, but then it took my bookmark out already, so
Brooke, do
no.
you have a parting word?
Wait.
Oh, okay.
Wait, I have a parting word. Wait, seamlessly edit this.
Great. I'm not going to edit any of this.
Okay. Mary Clay, I'm glad that you are here with me here at the end of all.
You say that like this is my last episode. I'm gonna have several more episodes after this, and that's what I'm talking about.
I know, it just feels like the end, right? Man, I ruined your ending.
No, I love it.